What is up, guys? Randomodium here. We're going to be talking about the results of the group stages. Then we're also going to talk about my predictions for the knockout stage. Um, but yeah, I kind of want to talk about what has disappointed me so far and what I've liked so far. I'll start with the least disappointing team so far, and that's probably G2. They didn't make it out of the group stage. I was hoping they were going to, but I didn't expect them to make it out of the group stage. So I can't really be disappointed in their performance. They went 3-3. They just barely missed out against Samsung Galaxy and RNG. So I can't be too disappointed with G2. I wish they made it, but they didn't. The next least disappointing would probably be Immortals. But I mean, I'm pretty disappointed in Immortals. It's pretty ridiculous that they were set up so well in week one and they blew it. They just completely blew it. They did the standard NA special where they didn't win a single game all of week two, and they completely threw. And props on Fnatic. Fnatic was 0-3, and they came back and were able to get that second place spot, which I can't think of any other time that's happened. So that's really impressive by Fnatic that they were able to rally, especially with all the controversy that was going on. I thought that Immortals was for sure going to make it in, but yeah, they completely crumbled, unfortunately, under the pressure. So that was really disappointing. Just dumb mistakes, a lot of dumb mistakes, a lot of not making the correct macro plays. So that's really unfortunate and really sad. And the most disappointing, of course, has got to be TSM. They had the perfect draw. They had probably the easiest group you could possibly imagine. Not to say that it was an easy group. It was still a hard group. But the fact that they did not make it out of the group stage with that type of a draw indicates to me that there is a greater issue with the organization as a whole. And I believe that the TSM coach stepped down or was fired after the results of Worlds, which probably was the right call. I do think that it's part player based, and I do think it's part coach based. I try not to blame one specific person, because usually if there is an issue year after year, it's not just one person, it's multiple people, it's a systematic thing. But I definitely think that the way that they handled the draft phases were really poor, which is, that's the coach's number one responsibility is, the draft phase. That's how he really impacts the game, besides, the lead up to the game. So that was very disappointing. TSM early game overall was just awful, just god-awful. I mean, they had a phenomenal late game, but their early game was probably the worst out of any of the teams at Worlds, which was really disappointing. And while I can nitpick different players, like Bjergsen didn't play as good in some instances, and Doublelift didn't play as good in some games, and everybody seemed to have off games, but I could honestly say that there was games where every single person hard carried their team and really stepped up, except for Svenskeren. And that's just my personal opinion. I felt like Svenskeren was a complete no-show at Worlds. I felt like there were games where Hanser showed up and he hard carried his team. I felt like there were games where Bjergsen showed up and hard carried his team. And I felt like there were games where Doublelift and Biofrost showed up and hard carried their team. I did not see a single game where I felt like Svenskeren carried his team. And if I'm wrong, you guys can feel free to correct me. But if I was looking for a weak link on TSM, I would say that it's Svenskeren. Obviously, every player can improve and learn from their mistakes, but if I was the TSM organization, I would be looking to possibly replace Svenskeren, especially since he's taking up one of your import slots. So I would definitely be looking, to the Chinese teams or the Korean teams, looking for a really aggressive early game jungler, somebody who really has a lot of pressure in the early game. I mean, even Levi would be amazing if they were able to convince him to come over from Gigabyte Marines or something. But yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with TSM. They definitely, I feel like they relaxed. I feel like they took their eye off the ball. I mean, they had this easy group compared to a lot of the other groups, and they just completely whiffed it. They just completely took their eye off the ball. So that's just super disappointing. Thankfully, we actually did better than I thought we were going to do. I thought that we were only going to have one NA team and one EU team make it out of the group stage, but we have two EU teams and one NA team. So I guess I can't be too disappointed with that. And I'm very thankful that Cloud9 pulled through. I'm very thankful that Fnatic pulled through. And I'm actually pretty happy that Misfits got that last spot as opposed to, say, like Flash Wolves or something like that. If TSM wasn't going to make it, I'm glad that Misfits did make it. But yeah, let's talk about the pick'ems, all right? And this is just my personal opinion. Feel free to tell me how wrong I am on my picks. But yeah, so SKT versus Misfits. As much as I want to root for Misfits, I don't think that they're going to beat SKT in a best of 5. They might take a game off of SKT if they pull off some good early game plays. But I definitely have to pick SKT to win that matchup. And then I'm going to jump to both the RNG Fnatic match and also the WE Cloud9 matchup. So these two are not set in stone yet. So I have a feeling that one of these are going to be an upset. I think that either Fnatic or Cloud9 will advance, but I'm not sure which one it is. I don't know if Cloud9 is going to upset WE or if Fnatic is going to upset RNG. I'm leaning more towards Cloud9 upsetting WE, just because RNG looked really good. But I think that one of those teams will make it to the semis. I don't think that both of the teams will make it to the semis. So I think that we will have one NA or EU team in the semifinals, but that's probably where our journey is going to end as NA and EU fans. For Longzhu versus Samsung, this is a real toss-up. I expect this one to probably go to a fifth game. But I do think Longzhu has a advantage to beat them, and that's a really tough match for Longzhu. I think that's really going to actually probably help them in the long run if they're able to overcome that. So we get into the semifinals. Regardless of whether Fnatic or RNG win this matchup, I do think the SKT is going to make it to the finals. And regardless of whether WE or Cloud9 win, I think the Longzhu is going to make it to the finals. And I am crossing my fingers hoping that SKT does not win another world championship. That's not because I want to hate on SKT. They're an amazing team. But I really want somebody else to win because it would be better for the sport as a whole if some other team win. Because people are going to start losing interest in esports in general if every year it's just SKT winning. There needs to be competition in order for there to be drama and for there to be interest. If it's just a foregone conclusion that SKT is going to win every year, then that's going to decrease interest in Worlds. So I'm hoping that there will be an upset. I definitely think that SKT is the favorite, especially in a final situation. But I'm hoping that whatever team makes it to the finals with SKT will upset them, and I'm guessing it's most likely going to be Longzhu who's going to upset SKT in the finals. So that's those are my picks. Let me know what you guys think. Overall, I can't be too disappointed, right? Because I remember saying initially that I didn't think that more than one NA and one EU team was going to make it out, and we actually did better than that. We had 2 EU teams and 1 NA team, so I guess I can't be too disappointed. And I said that I'd be very happy if one of the teams made it to the semifinals, and I do think that's going to happen. So overall, wasn't a horrible Worlds. The games were pretty ridiculous. I loved some of the games, and I really felt like that every role had a chance to really impact. Support was incredibly strong. You saw teams even focusing the supports because of the guard and sensor meta. You saw games where they had top lane carries who were, winning the game through split pushing. You had games where junglers were impacting or AD carries or even mid laners. Every single role had a very important role to play in the game, and that no role felt like it was more important than the others, in my opinion. Obviously, I know people are going to say, oh, AD carry is so overpowered, but if I look at the individual players on an individual basis, there were times on all of these teams where I could say the support carried that game, or the jungle carried that game, or the top laner carried that game. It wasn't just mid laner and AD carry. So I think that that's a good indication of the meta as a whole. I know that a lot of people dislike this meta, but I definitely have seen a lot more diversity in Worlds this year than I've seen in a lot of previous years. So that makes me kind of hopeful moving forward into season 8. So let me know what you guys agree or disagree with. And yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' comments. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hope you all have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium signing off.